this meeting of the New Brunswick Parking Authority to order. Please be advised that the notice requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act have been complied with and satisfied in the annual notice, which gave sufficient notice of the time, place, and conduct of all public meetings of the New Brunswick Parking Authority, has been filed with the city clerk, has been placed on an appropriate bulletin board in the lobby of City Hall, New Brunswick, New Jersey, and has been transmitted to the official newspaper for the City of New Brunswick, namely the Home News and Tribune, as per the annual notice provided in a resolution adopted by this governing body on December 29, 1975. We have minutes from the regular, from the June 18 board meeting, both the regular and closed session. Any changes, additions, deletions, any board member wishes to make?
None.
If not, can I get a motion and a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks. Mitch?
Thanks, Chairman. We began the restoration of the parking garages for 2018. They're hitting Patterson Street garage first. That work's going to take about 30 days. The other garages that are going to be addressed, that includes Church, Civic, Morris, and Gateway garages, will take anywhere from 7 to 10 days each for those garages. So they should be done sometime in September.
Okay.
We're replacing two older multi-space meters, one at Plum Street lot, the other at Jersey Avenue parking ride. Two new multi-space meters. The difference here, we keep paying by using your license plate number as opposed to a space number, and then we'll use our LPR cameras to enforce those lots. We're looking to have them in place by the end of September. I don't know if you came into the main entrance down at 106 here in the office. We installed ADA door openers, you know, so we put them in place last week. The cost is going to be split amongst us and Rutgers. They have a person, I guess, who works for them, who has a wheelchair, so they had requested if they're looking to doing that work. As far as the Performing Arts Garage, they laid the foundation. The foundation is now covered up. Now they're using that area for a staging area for the steel for the theaters. And right now, precast is scheduled to begin at the end of August.
And that's on schedule?
Pretty much, yes. As far as the Wellness Pedestrian Bridge, we're working with Amtrak now to get an easement for that parcel of land where the pier would sit. That's the Amtrak property. So we're working with them to get the proper paperwork in order. We have to do basically a little survey and get an appraisal of the property as well. So.
Okay.
So we're moving along. And just a note, I don't know if anyone realized, but next Friday, August 3rd, is the 70th anniversary of the Parking Authority. It's been existing for 70 years. And so I'm going to give the office off that day. Just kidding. That's it. I have nothing else.
Okay. Thank you, Mitch. Brett?
Nothing except the financial statement for June was emailed, unless you have any questions on that.
I don't.
Okay, no questions, thank you.
David, anything?
No report, thank you.
Okay. Is there any public comment this evening?
I'm here, I'm a resident on Sedam Street on the corner of French Street. My name is Jessica Sanchez. I've been a resident for over 20 years. Grew up in New Brunswick. I went to St. Peter's Elementary, that's no longer existent anymore. Catholic school, not sure if anyone is aware of St. Peter's. I went to New Brunswick Health Science Technology High School. So, and I volunteered, so I have some long history here, and I'm here because my street has a terrible parking problem. I have pictures and proof that can be passed around for people to look at. But the parking is terrible in the fact that it's caused people to wait hours for parking or not getting parking at all. People to be put in dangerous situations like myself. I've been harassed. I've been yelled at by men at night for parking spots. and I've been attacked. That's how crazy it's been.
Do you have residential
Um,
permit parking in your
We
area?
do not. That,
Were you at the traffic commission with Mr. Seifert
I was not.
last year? Oh, I'm
But
sorry.
I've called around to find resources and who to talk to, so that's why I'm here today.
Okay.
So
I
Jessica,
spoke
I'm
with,
sorry to interrupt.
No, no, no,
What's
go
your address? Could you say again, the
I'm-
streets that are at issue?
yes,
that you're
I'm
referring
on
to?
334 SUYDAN Street on the corner of French Street. There's a lot of local businesses near me. I have pictures that I can show to you as well, just so you have like an idea of what I'm talking about. If you want to pass this around, this is
Sure.
all the surrounding businesses that are creating the parking issue around me. There's a flower shop, there's a supermarket, which used to be Extra Savings, is now Seatown, so it's attracting a lot of people. There's other small businesses in the area that have salons. I also have this, if you want to pass this around, everyone to look. These are examples of employees who are parked.
What am I looking at?
This is a parking lot
Right.
of the market that they don't use.
Oh, I
The
see.
employees park there and the customers park there. I even have pictures of cars parked on my street that are vans of companies
Mhm.
and are also non-residents. They work in the businesses, they have their own parking lots in the businesses, but it's getting really bad. Sedan Street is continuously growing. They're adding a lot of apartment buildings. And not any parking for these people. So we find that not only are we attracting employees and customers to these buildings, to our street, we're attracting people that don't have parkings in other street.
Mhm.
We're attracting people who have residential parking in the surrounding streets, which is Lewis Street, James Street, Handy Street.
Sure.
They can't park there,
Familiar.
and they don't want to get a ticket. So they'll park on our street, and we see it with our own eyes. We find that Rob Ward Johnson employees park there a lot. We see their tags on the car. And it's kind of getting ridiculous.
Okay.
A lot of people in the neighborhood are getting tickets because they can't find parking, and they're putting in a tough place. For me, it's hard because last year I was going to school for my master's full-time and working 2 jobs. I was coming home, I couldn't find parking. I was coming home late, and it was terrible to the point that I was crying and I was upset and I didn't know what to do. Now I work full-time. I come out, I work 9 to 5, corporate business time, coming with certain occasions because I work in an agency, but there's no parking when I come home. And I'm noticing that a lot of the people that are coming and going are not residents.
Mm.
So it's creating a huge problem. It's definitely messing with the quality of life for people who live there. And I'm not just someone who just moved there. I'm someone who has lived here for over 20 years, and it's kind of mind-boggling.
Well, yeah, I hear what you're saying. So what we'd like to do is, now you brought this to my attention, let me do some investigation.
This is Sedan Street. if you
All
want
right.
to pass it on.
Can I keep these?
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
great.
These are all
Keep
copies
these.
for you.
I'm going to have our
If you look on
enforcement
the
get
back,
involved, too.
I even labeled what the picture is
All right, great.
and what am I saying about
What
it,
is-
just so you have an idea.
You want to write down your phone number? so-
Yeah, I can give you all my contact
All right.
information.
Write that down and let's do some investigation work and I'll be in touch. Or someone from my office will be in touch if it's not me. So you're surrounded by residential parking, so all the overflows coming over yours because there's
Because they
free
can't
fall,
find
basically.
parking, yeah.
What we got? You grab those, Howard?
Thank you.
I'll let him keep them.
So I also put my mother's contact information, because she's the owner. of the apartment that I'm staying in.
Okay.
So just so you have that. I don't know
Now,
if
is this a
you have that.
house that you're, is this?
We're in an apartment.
You're in an apartment?
Mm-hmm,
Okay.
yeah.
So it's an apartment?
Oh, let me write the address. for you,
Yeah, that'd be,
just so you
that'd be a
have
big
that.
help. Thanks.
All right, there you go.
Oh, okay.
But you're already good. All right.
I'll do them, yeah, I'll double that. I had no problem with
Do you find that certain times of the year it's worse than others, or is it just constant?
It's always been bad, but lately it's gotten
It's
worse.
getting worse?
Um,
You blame it on the businesses?
I believe most of it is the businesses, which I said they do have their own parking locations. So it's kind of appalling to see that their employees would park on the street, or their customers, knowing that they have a location for them to park. Like I mentioned, the grocery store across the street was Express Savings, but now they're a C-Town, which is pretty big. They've attracted more people there. I was in marketing, so I study a lot of this stuff, about like businesses and like, what attracts people.
So
And
you think the name of the store attracts it?
yeah, I think
C-Towns, they see
I
C-Towns
think
go
that's
there
what-
as opposed to Express Savings.
I think that's what made the business grown, but also, I mean, it's always been bad. It's just been really worse to the point that I've had to write down license plates and call the police.
Because they were parking
Because
illegally.
they're attacking me for parking
Oh.
spots, especially at nighttime, which is dangerous. I'm a young female, and who wants to be walking at night and knowing that someone could be attacking you? There's been plenty of times. This is my mother here.
Oh, hi. How are you?
There's been plenty of times that I've had to call my mom and say, can you come outside? Because someone's ready to attack me. I've been blocked in by someone and I fear for retaliation. She'll come out, she'll check my car and make sure it's okay. And I just think that that's not something that anyone should go through
Right.
at their place of residence.
Especially, I don't know what, but
I've
Well, we
covered,
got the pictures.
especially a working neighborhood that, I've been living there for over 35 years. And in the past 5 years, it's at its worst. And last year, I think it topped it, especially on Halloween, when French Street, I don't know if you've seen that, it gets extremely busy with trick-or-treaters. For whatever reason, kids from across the line go trick-or-treating on French Street. And a person wanted to park in front of the house, and I'm waiting for her. And obviously, they did not live in the neighborhood, the children were dressed in their outfits, and they said they were going to cut me
Really?
in front of their children. And I'm like, what type of father are you?
But what brought on the fact that they're going to
Because he wanted to park there.
And you said.
And I said, no.
Oh, I see.
I said, you do not live in a neighborhood.
Right.
You don't have a right to park here. And he's like, well, I'm gonna cut you. And I'm like, and I had my phone in my hand, so I was
Well,
ready to call 911.
Unfortunately, if it's not regulated parking, as far as residential parking,
Yeah,
Kenny has a right to park
Yeah,
there.
I know
but
that,
I
but-
get where you're coming
Right,
from now.
yeah.
Okay.
It's becoming an issue. A lot of our neighbors are, they don't know about this meeting. I just found out this meeting exists. We were taking a walk on, where was it, 4th of July? A resident from another area, they said they had the same issues. I mean, I've come here plenty of times. I've been referred back to City Hall. City Hall referred me to the clerical office. It's like nobody's handling.
All right.
This is an issue that's been going on with the year that we've been transferred from one place to another place until I met this man on 4th of July. And he said his neighborhood had the exact same problem until they brought it to the meeting here. So that's why we decided to come here.
his name was Dan. He lives on Townsend. He said he's been to a few of these meetings before.
Dan Seifert.
Yes.
He actually goes to the traffic commission meeting.
Right.
He was at the last one. Yeah, he's
Right.
looking for residential parking too, because he gets a lot of teachers
Yeah.
that park there.
So like she said, all the streets around us have residential parking. Sedam is the only neighborhood who does not have residential parking. I know they say because, what is it, C-Town, Bravos, whatever it is, that supermarket that's across the street from us, that makes it a business area. I said, that lot has a private parking.
Yeah, well, that would say, and what I told Jessica, we're gonna take a look at it, all right? We're gonna have enforcement down there, I'll go down there myself. We're gonna see, I first wanna get the whole environment, pictures only do so much justice. All right, I wanna get out there, see the dynamics. And then ultimately, depending on, what we see, that when it comes to residential permit parking, that we usually ask for a petition to be sent around. all
So I
right?
need to do that next?
Yeah, but wait until I get
That's
back
not a
to you.
problem.
Okay, yeah, that ultimately might be the
Not to
answer.
interrupt you with the petition, but I've noticed that a lot of people in my neighborhood are kind of scared to speak up. And as many people might know about New Brunswick, there's a lot of undocumented
Okay,
people.
But
And
they're
they,
still
and they work,
regular
they're
people.
working citizens.
They have
and
children.
They have kids, but they're scared
Mhm.
to speak up
Mhm.
about this. So what will we do in that situation if we can't get
well,
another petition?
why don't we cross that bridge when we
Yeah,
get to it?
I just wanted to make
All right.
that known.
But I just want to put that out there, all right, so we'll definitely, you came to the right place, we'll definitely look into it.
So how long do we wait until we come back and say, hey, what's going on?
Well, hopefully you won't have to come back and say, hey, what's going on? I mean, it's gonna, I would say it's gonna take us a few days to get out there, all right? I'm gonna show it to my enforcement officers and my manager there, and we'll go out there,
Okay.
all right? And then myself, I mean, tomorrow, or both Friday, I'm not here, so I'll probably get out there Monday to take a look. And see.
Okay.
So, but it's not gonna happen,
Of course, I know there's a process.
Right.
I was born and raised in this town.
Okay.
I've worked
right.
for a nonprofit organization that's been around for over 40 years. So I do know
Okay,
the
yeah, but
process.
believe me, we'll definitely look at this,
Okay.
all right? All
Okay,
right. And I
thank you
have-
both
I
for
have-
coming tonight. We appreciate the.
Yeah, and I have Jessica's
and
contact
Mitch will follow up with
information, so, she'll know there.
Of course, I always have a business card with me.
They don't give us none.
What happened?
They haven't given me one.
Is there anything else that you need to let us know about that situation?
I have everybody's business card.
Is there anything more comments you have?
I think that what we said, covered the basics, if anything.
Okay, good.
And the extent, like where is it getting to that people who do not live in a neighborhood are getting a little violent? And that's the bigger issue, if anything.
Mhm.
The behavior of, outside the neighborhood, if anything. You have a young man that, he's my neighbor, he works for you. He could even vouch for what's going on in the neighborhood too.
Mhm.
So.
Works for Charlie?
Yeah,
Oh,
Carlos is his name, right? Yeah. I asked him to cover the National Night Out on the
Okay.
7th, so he said he has to speak to you about it.
Cool.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks for coming in,
Yes,
we
thanks for
appreciate
letting
that,
us know.
thank you.
thank you.
Members of the board, Charles Crowderville, New Brunswick resident, editor of New Brunswick Today, candidate for mayor of this great city, and I just want to say it's sad to see the extent of the problems that parking puts people in New Brunswick. I'm a fellow resident of Sedan Street, and my block's not as bad as their block, but I can firsthand attest, as she mentioned, I have a good friend who lives on that block. It is the hardest block to park on of Sedan Street.
Yeah, I was on Stam Street for a while, I know.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
It's especially that block really does need to have the problem addressed. And so I'm glad to see the parking authority is going to do something. One issue that was raised that I thought deserves a little more discussion would be the Robert Wood Johnson employees parking on Sedan Street. That comes as a surprise to me. I thought the hospital is, gets a lot of permits in the decks, and is there a parking problem at Robert Wood Johnson?
No, people who request a parking space get a parking space. I'm a little surprised, that's kind of far, if you think about it, from the hospital's campus. So when your guys are out doing their investigation, I'd be curious. if
Yeah, we'll check
there's-
it out. Yeah, that's what we look at. We look at, see.
I mean,
Try to
maybe, I don't
understand
know if it's
the
somebody's parking
dynamics.
there all day, if it's somebody who's stopping at the C-Town,
Yeah.
it's hard to,
We'll check it out.
in a vacuum, hard to figure out what that is, but there's no, if somebody needs a parking space who's employed by the hospital, they get a parking space. So that's surprising.
Yeah, so you said if they're employed, they get a parking space, but do they have to pay for it?
Yes, they do.
Okay, so that might be it. If the hospital's charging their employees for parking, it's optional to sign up, I'd imagine some people may try to park on streets where it's legal for anybody to park, and that may well be part of the problem.
Yeah, I don't, in the absence of facts, I don't know.
Okay. I'll move on. There was an issue I emailed the executive director earlier today. Wanted to follow up on the, forget the.
Employee parking, basically discount employee parking.
Yes.
So you brought up, you mentioned possibly using Lower Church Street deck as one of the facilities to have this employee parking. Unfortunately, Lower Church Street, besides being the smallest garage we have, is also the most popular, and that fills constantly, especially on weekends, when you have, not this time of year, but once September rolls around, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, even Sunday nights, it gets full. To open that up to employee parking will just complicate matters even more, because as it is, the business owners get aggravated at me because it fills and where their customers park. So to use it for employee parking, I don't think that facility makes sense. I know it's convenient, and it's a catch-22. It's convenient for the employees and convenient for the customers, so, who's more important?
I understand. So it's the most frequently filled up deck.
Yes,
Yeah.
I mean, the demand, it's a demand issue. I just don't have the space, and I can't, I don't want to promise someone parking, and they can't get in, and that doesn't sell anything. But, I did look at our system, and what I like to do is, I think, or I believe that once the cultural center garage, and I know it's a year away, once that opens, I could see the dynamics as far as where people are parking. Does that move some people out of Lower Church to get closer to the theaters? Or does it move people out of Morris Street? Because that's right across the street from the theaters. And then possibly offer one of those garages as an alternative besides the wellness garage. Plus they're getting, it's an extreme discount. We're charging normally
$75.
$175 for a space, and I'm offering for $75. And yes, it's 3 blocks down the street, but, I mean, you can't have everything, what I'm saying?
So I understand, still 0 signups, right? Nobody signed up for it. So, yeah, I think that, the authority can do better. I think, Morris Street, you mentioned that deck, almost never full, right? Does it ever fill
No, that's
up?
not true, it does fill. If there's an event, again, right now is a tough time to look at.
Right.
Because it's quiet. Everyone's
Summer.
down at the shore on the weekends, no one's really going, there's no shows, really, very few shows, if any. And then when you get the Stress Factory going, you got the State Theater going, you have events at the hotel, both hotels, it gets really nuts downtown, and these facilities fill. Morris Street does fill at times, all right? Not as often as Lower Church, but that's what I gotta look at. Once September rolls around, let me look at the dynamics. I like to also, when the Cultural Center garage goes up, or the Performing Arts garage goes up, look at that and see how that might draw some people out of Morris Street or some other garage.
So does wellness ever fill up, or I guess that's the only one?
Wellness
It does.
is, and that's one of the reasons we offer that one, because the demand isn't there for wellness at night, all right?
I see.
And even Gateway, even this garage might be a possibility. I could look at.
Okay, yeah, I think anything
All right.
to expand the options. There's.
The Lower Church is tough.
I understand. There are, there's bars and restaurants all over that have a lot of workers there.
That's the first spot everyone
Till
goes
late
to
at
park.
night. That's really the concern, because, asking people to walk 4 blocks, 5 blocks at 2 or 3 in the morning. Some people just aren't comfortable doing that. So I can understand why, they're not signing up for that deck. There's only really 1 or 2 bars that are close to
But,
that.
and let me just give you a little history if I can. In the past, we offered Wolfson Garage. The Wolfson Garage is not that far. And again, we had 1 sign up. And that lasted for 2 months, and they got it. I think they try to find parking where they don't have to pay, which I don't blame them. I mean, everyone
Yeah,
tries to do that. But I think, other than paying, they try to find another alternative means to park.
Okay.
So,
As far as the data on usage, is there like a report that's prepared on that, or is there, how do you access that kind of data to find out when the decks fill
There's
up? or how-
occupancy reports that we run. I get them on a monthly basis. It shows me on a daily basis which decks fill, percentage that it fills.
Okay, so if an Oprah request were filed, you'd be able to share those reports? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, any board discussion? If not, can we move along to resolutions? We have payment resolution for July. Can I get a motion for that? And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Okay. Mitch, want to explain the second resolution?
Yeah, the second one is, this is now the fifth addendum to the power purchase agreement, which is between the, between MBS Energy Partners, the City of New Brunswick, the New Brunswick Parking Authority, and the Board of Ed. Basically, this is just an extension of the existing power purchase agreement. What they're looking to do is to add more solar panels at, I don't have it with, oh yeah, at specific locations. It looks like they're all for the New Brunswick school system. So they're looking to put some carport at the administration building, some on the roof at the Lincoln Annex School, the high school's carport, the middle school's carport, Red Shore Elementary carport, and Roosevelt Elementary Schools is a roof mount. Carport being over like a parking lot.
Yes.
You've seen them. Sure. All right. So that's basically.
So there's no change in that?
There's no change. I mean, they just want more time so they could construct these additions. That's all.
Okay, good. Can I get a resolution approving that addendum? And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any old business, Mitch?
No, I do have, not to jump ahead, but I do have a couple of closed session items that are legal in nature.
Okay. Can I get a motion to go into closed session?
I'll make a motion.
And a second? All in favor?
Aye.